I got a brand new dry erase board. Let's go hang it up. Damn, makes the whole place look different. Well, as you can see, I've been a little bit busy lately, but you can also imagine that developing a problem on my personal car, my consternation was exponentially amplified during that situation when I discovered an unexpected problem had occurred. So what we're going to do in this video is, of course, diagnose what the issue is, and I'm also going to explain the symptoms that I experienced while driving before I noticed this overheat condition occurred, and then what actions I took afterwards, because you want to be aware not only of what to do in the event of an overheat situation while you're driving, but also some of the things you want to observe that will help give you some clues towards your diagnostic when you finally do get a chance to analyze your situation. So basically, I was driving along in traffic. I believe I may have been at a stoplight or something, and it was a relatively cool day. We're actually predicted for a massive snowstorm very soon, as a matter of fact. So the least of my expectations would be that the car is overheating, but I noticed when taking off from the stoplight or stop sign or whatever, that the car just wasn't behaving right. I can't really just explain it very well, but when you drive your own personal car, you get these kind of, I don't know, indications when something isn't the same as it always has been. Maybe the car lacked a little power, was a little more sluggish than usual. But whatever the case was, it caused me to look at the gauges, and I noticed, much to my surprise, that the temperature gauge was reading about 230. So luckily, I didn't blow my new engine and everything. So I was very lucky to identify that before it became a major issue. Not that I think I would have blown the engine, by the way. Plastic intake manifold would have melted, I think, long before my aluminum heads and block would. But whatever the case was, no major engine damage or anything like that, but definitely some indication that I've got an issue with a 230 Fahrenheit temperature for you guys outside of the US. So the first thing I wanted to do was immediately turn the heater on. So when you have an overheat condition, one of the best things you can do, if you turn your heater on, your heater core can act as a mini radiator and supplement your cooling. And it'll often help with the situation, but unfortunately for me, I noticed when I turned the heater on, it had absolutely no effect, and actually the temperature was climbing, which also so was my anxiety at the time, because I needed to get the car off the road and of course immediately turn it off. I came to a side street where there was no traffic, and I knew there was like a Target or something down the street that I could get to a parking lot. So I started driving down that direction. As I was driving down the road, I noticed that my temperature gauge actually started to decrease. This is telling me that I most likely have an airflow issue, more likely than anything else, because as I'm accelerating and moving the car along, the airflow through the radiator is having a cooling effect. So I'm starting to suspect maybe the fans aren't coming on, something like that. Another thing that can cause that would be a blockage of the radiator. I've had it where you drive over a paper bag or something, it sucks up into the radiator, blocks the fins. But whatever the case, it's an observation. I'm collecting data as I'm freaking out. So I finally get over to the parking lot. By that time, the car's temperature had dropped down considerably, probably 15 degrees or so. And of course, I turn off the car. When turning off the car, I noticed what was the biggest clue by far, and that was the fans were not running. On most models, when your temperature gets to a certain point, even with the car off, the fans will run to continue to cool down the engine, and that was not happening for me. So this obviously being a major clue, I'm wondering, is there a problem with the fans? Is there a control issue? I go ahead and I start the car back up and I turn on the air conditioning. Now that, of course, would seem like a totally counterintuitive call to turn the air conditioning on a car that's overheating. However, if it was a fan problem, this could resolve the problem enough for me to get home, because when you turn your air conditioner on, it forces the fans to turn on. However, I noticed when turning the air conditioner on, the fans did not come on. And that was obviously my clue that I have a problem with the fans. So the issue is that with my moving and everything, Normally in any of my cars, I will carry a toolkit which has a flashlight, some wiring, some basic tools, of course my digital volt ohm meter, and maybe a couple other things. But because of my moving, I didn't have any of that because I was busy loading the cars with other stuff. So I have nothing with me. Fortunately, my observation that driving the car will cool it down was very helpful. So I knew there was a highway coming up. Actually, it's a toll road, even better, because there's no traffic and it's almost a direct shot to my place. So I went ahead and took the toll road. The temperature returned immediately back to normal as soon as I got on the highway, and I had no problems and no concerns bringing my car back home. Had there been any traffic or anything like that, I would have, of course, had it towed, but I wasn't concerned about it. So I brought the car back to my house, and this morning now, we are going to take a look at what the issue is. It was also night at that time, so I really, without a flashlight and everything, was pretty limited in what I was going to be able to do anyway, so I just wanted to get the car home. So now we are able to assess the situation a little more thoroughly. I know the fans don't come on. I also have some background knowledge that not even 2 years ago, most of you guys are aware, I did the engine swap and supercharger project. So the cooling system is entirely brand new. The fans are entirely brand new. Normally I would suspect the fans may have burned out. The electric fan motors may have burned out. However, I have 2 electric fans, and actually strike that, three electric fans. I have two pullers and 1 pusher actually. So for all 3 of the fans to burn out, yeah, that's not likely. So I'm suspecting a control issue is what I'm suspecting. So we're going to go in that direction, which means we're going to get to the relay box, which means if you are not familiar with how relays work, you will want to watch my video on YouTube on diagnosis and understanding relays and relayed circuits. And if you're familiar with relays and how they operate, then what I'm going to do is probably going to make a lot more sense because I'm going to show you some new tricks. So let's get on it. All right, so you can see we've got 3 fan relays here. There would always be 3 fan relays anyway, even on the stock version here. And one of the things is, kind of one of the advantages I have is I've just got a plethora of ways that I can approach this. I'm not limited into following a certain thing where I'm only able to check a fuse or I'm only able to do something like that. I can do whatever I want here. I've got my whole garage with me. I can do a test light test. I can use the digital volt ohm meter. I'm going to go get a digital volt ohm meter. But that's one of the nice things when you start to master your basics is you can just do things the way you want. You're not limited into, well, I only know how to do this or that. So I'm just deciding I'm going to go for the relays. And let's see here. We're going to, I've never been able to get these out with my fingers. I'm gonna grab this handy little gizmo here. This is a relay puller, and you kind of get this so it slips under the relay and it grabs it from under the relay, and you can pull a relay out very easily. And not even sure which one I pulled out. Number 2, that's going to work for me because we're going to force all the fans on anyway, so it doesn't matter. Again, I'm suspecting a control issue here. I don't think all 3 of my relays are bad. I don't think my fan motors are blown. So what we're going to do is a very quick check here. Place this where we got no glare. I installed some super bright LED lights in the new garage. So really, really excellent except for glare. All right, I'm not entirely sure what I'm poking at yet, but obviously I'm looking for my control and load side powers. Nothing there. There's one right there, and there's one right there. So what does that tell you? I've got my control side and load side power, so that rules that out. It also addresses those guys. Inevitably, I'm going to get in the comments, you never check the fuses. I always check the fuses. Guess what? I just did. You're just too dumb to know. So what this means is it's kind of indicating a little bit more in the direction of my control side theory here, in that these are going to be ground side controlled. So I know I've got the powers there. The thing I'm suspecting is we may not have control on these. So how to test this? So there's a couple ways. One of them is I need to force the fans on. And of course I could start the car and turn the AC on. A couple of issues with that. The first one, obviously, with an overheat condition and running with the AC on and knowing the fans aren't coming on, and with filming, the distraction with filming, keeping track of an overheat becomes a little more challenging. So not a really great way of doing it. But it is a way that many of you guys, if you don't have a scan tool, that's what you'd have to do. You'd start the car, you turn the AC on, and that's going to command your fans on, and then you can do your control testing. The other issue that I have with starting the car is they were predicting a major snowstorm, and of course I don't want my garage door open during that. Let's take a look, because these guys, I'm telling you, they never accurately predict this. Oh, okay. Well, they may have called this one right. All right, well, given that, again, you could certainly do this by running the engine and starting the AC, and that's going to do the same thing that I'm going to be able to do with the scan tool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my old favorite Auto Ingenuity here. So let's set that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Auto Ingenuity's bi-directional controls to turn the fan motors on using the scan tool. All right, we are going to go to 2000 Trans Am. The 8th digit will be a G. The 4th digit should be an F for F body. That'll be Firebirds and Camaros. Like that. Transmission's going to be a 6-speed manual, and that should do it. And if we bring up our enhanced powertrain parameters, we should be able to get some bidirectionality. Not worried about codes, just want to get to my bidirectional controls is all. So if we go here to actuation, we can do fan relays 1, 2, and 3, which is what I'm going to want. So we can select that and we can turn the fans on. And you probably heard that it clicked. You heard the relays click that were remaining. That also is good indication. This is not going to be a relay problem. As we know, that's not necessitated. Just because a relay clicks doesn't mean you're getting contact there, something we're going to test, of course. But the fact that we're turning on all the relays and we've got no fan action, this is going to be actually pretty indicative, because what does that tell us about our controls, by the way? My first theory was that we have a control problem. Well, we heard the relay clicked. We completed the ground side on the control side of the relay clicked. This is not a control problem. This is not going to be a control problem. So that's kind of indicating that most likely my fan motors are burned out. But again, that's just so incredibly unlikely. But that's kind of the direction that we've got to go now, because we've already eliminated a number of variables just in this short time. So this on command only stays on for a short period of time, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. We hear the relays click off. Again, no fans. So we need to investigate what's going on. All right, unfortunately, the little trick that I wanted to show you earlier does not apply quite as much to this situation now that I've ruled out a control issue with my failing fan circuit. But this was what I was going to show you, and we'll still do it just to show you how this works. But this is my little homemade relay and circuit tester. It kind of looks like a spider a little bit. There's actually a kit that you can buy that I do own. I'm just not showing it because I know most of you guys wouldn't have it. But if you didn't have the scan tool and you wanted an easy way that you can do your relay testing and circuit testing with the relay in place, what I've done is I've just simply connected up wires to each of the terminals on the relay, which allows me to access my control and load sides for both testing and for bypassing, which would come in really handy if I thought there was a control issue. But what we're going to do is just plug this gizmo in. You've got to be really careful, though, that you don't cross up your wires on that control side, obviously, or you'll have some serious problems, needless to say. So going to be very careful here. We'll plug this in, and I'm going to use this actually to make things easier so I can determine where my issue is with my fans not coming on, if the motors really are blown. Or the only other possible explanation would be, well, other than on my relays being bad, would be that there's some kind of open between the relay and the fan motor. That would be the only other possibility. So this should make it easier to find out. All right, with my little relay tool here installed, this makes things so much easier by far. But what I can do is, I know I've got the load side feed on the black wire, I've got my load side on the yellow, I've got my control side feed on, I forgot which one it was, I think it was the white, and then my control ground on the blue. So I can, for example, just go ahead and activate my relay if we listen very carefully. You can hear the relay clicking on and off. The other thing I can also very easily do, because I've got a power output here, is we can just go ahead and feed power to the fans right there. And of course, nothing's happening. So I don't even need a jumper wire or anything, or my power probe. We can just feed power to the fans that way. So all kinds of things we can do here to make this a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is I am going to see if I can disconnect the fan motor here, because also if there's an open, the most likely location for that's going to be at a connector, and I can't really reach it. It's behind my supercharger tube here. So let me go ahead and remove that, and I'll be right back. Okay, removing the supercharger tube, I'm now able to make my disconnection here. So let's see. This is the side going to the fans, and this down here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, is from the PCM side. So let's do this. Let's just run power right to the fans. And actually, I think I see an issue here. Yeah, I actually did find the issue. Golly. All right, hang on. It's just really corroded. Yeah, so this is actually going to be an open problem. My fans are not burned out, which makes total sense because there's no way that that would be it. But this is going to definitely be a connector problem. What's the other connector look like? The other connector pins actually look really horrible. So what we're going to do to confirm this, I wonder if I can reach my power over here. Which of these was my power feed? All right, so one of the beauties of this system is now, given the information that I believe my fans should work, I've got power sources here. So I can, let's see, the yellow would be the optimal one. But it's not going to reach. That sucks. The black one would, so I can swap them. Wait, no, duh, obviously. If I activate my relay, I can put power to my load side lead, and then all I need is a ground. So yeah, how easy is that? Let me grab another wire. All right, so we'll give a ground there, and then we need to get power here, so I need to bypass my relay. Right there. Awesome, I heard it click, and yeah, that should do it. All right, we should get some fans working now. Make sure we're in the camera here. There we go. So, that means we're not going to have voltage at the other end of the connector, the PCM side. And that's going to be right here. So where's my DVOM? And let's see what our issue is here. What we're going to have to do is replace this connector. So let's get on there. And on here, check my voltmeter. Well, look at that. Look at that. There is voltage there now, but then again, you know, I've already kind of disturbed it. As a matter of fact, that means that if I plug this in, it should operate the fans now. My relay is still connected, so yeah, this should operate the fans. And this was just there they are. Okay, so let me do something to clean up the connectors here, and that's going to be that's still a little bit of a concern. All right, let's make sure we disconnect our power here, and that gizmo's very, very helpful in a lot of ways. What I've got is a little file here, and I'm just going to clean off these terminals. All right, got my terminals kind of sanded down a little bit, make better connection. Get my scan tool up there. Let's reconnect. There we go, and then let's turn on our fans. There we go. And now we've got our fans back. Okay. All right, doesn't get any more basic than that, does it? Another super easy diagnosis, didn't even get my hands dirty. The only problem I have, though, is that for those of you guys keeping track, that is the second bad connector issue in my Trans Am within like a month or so. So what this is telling me is that after, how long have I had this car? 20 years? The electrical harness is probably not long for this earth. And now in retrospect, I'm really thinking it was kind of dumb. I should have replaced the harness when I did the engine swap and the supercharger thing. But I've never had electrical issues ever with the car before, so honestly, I didn't even think of it. Never even thought of it, but now in retrospect, you know, and maybe with some extra heat that the engine produces with supercharging and all that, maybe it's starting to act up now. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to seriously think about putting a wiring harness in this thing. Would have been a lot easier without the engine in. But oh well. Still, at the very least, I just have to replace that connector and we'll be good to go. I wanted to show you this. This kit here replaces that sort of little hack I did with the relay to make the connector ports available so that you can easily test the ports for voltage, bypass, things like that. And what this does is it's got a whole bunch of different relay things. Which one of these looks like the GM one? Probably this orange one will do one for the 5-pin, and this green one looks a lot like it. So you basically plug this in, plug your relay into the top of it, and then you can see you've got your pins here that you can access to apply voltage to or read voltage from. So I've never shown this before, and I do use it from time to time. I just didn't do it in videos because, again, it's just something that makes things easier. But as you saw, you can easily create your own kit. One of the ways this is super useful is on some models. There was a Isuzu I was working on not too long ago. One of the problems is that the relay has a skirt around it, so you can't put the wires to your relay because the plastic around here comes down over the contacts. So you would actually have to like drill holes or something or cut grooves to allow the wires to come through. And this relay kit would prevent you from having to modify the relays like that. Not that I'm opposed to it, but if you're doing it in front of a customer or something, they would obviously freak out if you took a Dremel tool to their relay so you could tie a bunch of wires up to it. But anyway, this kit is available from Lyle, and it will allow you to do what you saw me do in this video. But nothing wrong with just doing it yourself and making your own kit like this. I do it all the time. So anyway, easy diagnosis once again. They're all easy, actually. Electrical, when you really think about it with electrical, you can only have like 3 or 4 variables. What would they be? You can only have a voltage drop, an open, a short to ground, or a ground fault. That's like it. I think that's it's going to be one of those 4 on an electrical. So really, when you boil it down, you have very, very few variables, and it's just a matter of how do you determine which one it is. So thanks for watching. Hope you found this helpful. We'll see you next time.